So, this Buddhist monk goes into a bar and orders up a beer. And the bartender says to him, he says, "Say, old enlightened one, tell me, how long is infinity?" And the monk responds, "It is only slightly longer than the Shroud of Turin research project." Now that would be funny, but there's a measure of truth to it. Scientists have been researching and studying that cloth for over 100 years. When I go to Amazon, I can count 500 books that make reference to it. I go to YouTube, I find over 400 hours of video content, all about the Shroud of Turin. Will we ever know what caused the image of the crucified Jesus to appear on that cloth? The answer is yes, we will. We know already. We know that his body dematerialized into its atomic parts. And the problem is, and while this goes on, is that no one will accept that because it is unheard of. You know, bodies don't dematerialize. But they do dematerialize. We have records of thousands of people over the last thousands of years, including current times, whose bodies have dematerialized. We find it primarily in the Buddhist tradition, in the rainbow body phenomenon. We find it primarily within that tradition in a small Buddhist sect called the Nyingma tradition, which I don't know is probably 5% or less of the total Buddhist population. We also find it in the Kham region of Tibet, which would be far eastern Tibet, or what used to be eastern Tibet, which would now be western China. And it is possibly, beyond the North Pole and the South Pole, the most remote, desolate place on Earth. And the thing about it is, we can attach this rainbow body phenomenon to a yogic practice that this Nyingma sect, and you only find it in the Nyingma sect, this yoga practice they call doctrine. You see, Jesus taught doctrine. You have to go to the non-canonical Gospel of Thomas to find it. But in that teaching, he says, those who follow that practice will never taste death. So we got the rainbow body phenomenon, we got Jesus's teaching, and then we got the science of the atom. All matter has a dual nature. We know this. It's either a solid particle or a spooky wave. Mr. Einstein told us that back in the 50s. He said that for beyond all discernible concatenations, there lies something that is subtle, intangible, and inexplicable. It's spooky. Solid particle, spooky wave, corpse in the tomb, empty tomb. You see, we know the problem. In church teaching, Jesus' resurrection was a singularly unique event in human history, and it is non-negotiable. It is an article of faith. And now we have this scientific evidence from the Shroud, and we also have this information that comes from Tibet, and we apply the science of the atom, and we see that it denies foundational church teaching. And in addition, we're now into a yogic practice, so we've brought the mind-body relationship into the argument, and that's something science will have nothing to do with. Science is in the business of measuring things, not into some kind of mental event. So there's this Roman Catholic priest. His name's Father Francis Tiso. I don't know if I can come up with enough good things to say about Father Tiso. Highly educated, Harvard, Columbia, might be some Cornell in there. Well-traveled, highly regarded. He is an accomplished lecturer and a true expert in the Eastern traditions. In 2016, he published a book called Rainbow Body and Resurrection. The book is based on his personal investigation of a recent rainbow body death in Tibet, went on site, interviewed eyewitnesses. And in this book, he makes his claim. He claims that which we Christians claim for Jesus is within the capability of everyone who wants to follow this yogic practice of doctrine. And he has a word for science also. He tells them that what science says is impossible turns out to be possible. But here's the problem. Father Tiso seems to be missing in action after having said those things. He no longer returns my emails. He doesn't do his Facebook posts. And his website, and it was a good one because it had a lot of information about rainbow body in there. His website's been taken down. And I think I got a feel for what's happening. So I've written a Catholic cardinal who is the president of the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops. I've written my archbishop, the archbishop in charge of the diocese in which I reside. I've written my pastor. I've written my former pastors, and I've told them that you need to listen to Father Tiso because you have in your possession something you own, this relic, that 100 years of research are telling you it's confirming what Father Tiso is saying. Right? That death by dematerialization is a natural thing. Well, I can tell you, the silence is deafening. We're in this kind of a box. We have the scientific research on the shroud and all the supporting evidence that denies foundational Christian doctrine. But the church is so heavily invested in its traditions and what it says and does that it really can't change. I mean, what's it going to do? You're going to go back to the 2.2 billion membership and tell them that we've done a number on you for the last 2,000 years? It's not going to happen. And if one of its own speaks out against it, then it appears to me in Father Tiso's case that they install a muffler. And then if you get a nobody like me speaks out about it, then you just ignore it and hope I'll go away. But in the meantime, there's this great truth that's out there that's embedded in the shroud that just lies buried and hidden. I mean, it stands to reason. If you can dematerialize your body, and that's what Doctrine is all about, it's about intending to not have a material existence. It's a basic denial of biological design. Then it stands to reason that You are the one that materialized the body in the first place. And who is you? You know who you is. That's that little inner voice that advises you and criticizes you as you go through the day to day. Now, I can't give you a molecule by molecule recipe of how you materialized your body. It has to do with your intent. And why would you do that? Why would you want to have a material body? Well, then that takes us into karma and reincarnation, subjects that I'll get to in future videos, but it just puts us in a position of running further roughshod over Christian teaching. Now, my business background says it is wrong. It is wrong to deny cold, hard, scientific fact that from people who have put their faith and trust in you and also who pay your salary. I think that's wrong. But maybe religion gets a free pass. I don't know. But and science is part of the problem also. Their refusal to acknowledge the paranormal in human experience makes them part of the problem, not part of the solution. So the thing is, truth. You can only keep it bottled up for so long. And the longer you keep it bottled up, the more explosive it's going to be when it finds its way out of the bottle. Literally, the Shroud of Turin is a ticking time bomb. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, may God bless you.